So I'm just figuring out how the Lakers keep taking the blame. Okay, he went to Utah. Utah bought him out. He goes to the Clippers. Clippers could have re-signed him after that year. They didn't. He goes to the Nuggets. They have an option. He has an option for $3.5, $4 million, whatever the case was.
Right.
He declined the option. They move on. How is that the Lakers' fault? When I first started hearing rumors, I said, this is a bad deal. I said, LeBron and Russ won't work together.
Right.
They both need the ball, and it just won't work.
Yeah, it was a bad fit to begin with, but who wanted that fit? Who wanted Russell Westbrook on the Lakers? LeBron James? And I understand what Shannon is saying, don't get me wrong, but the reason you're so passionate is because by Pat Bev saying it was the Lakers' fault, he was really talking about LeBron James. And you already know how Shannon is when it comes to his GOAT. He will crash out about LeBron James. Shannon Sharpe goes off on Patrick Beverly for saying the Lakers ruined Russ's reputation. Check out what he had to say, and then I'll come back with my comments.
Hey, but that's tough there, especially when it comes to basketball stuff, especially situations like that, regardless of your accolades, regardless of your resume, regardless of what you have done. You have to, how Pat Bev feels about Russ and how his other teammates feel about him. You need the owners. You need the ones who write the checks to feel that way.
The guys running the team.
You need that's who you need to feel that way. And most of the time, they never do. They never do. When they feel they can get some type of production from someone else, give someone else a chance. I mean, that's the nature of the business. It happens in football. It happens in baseball. It happens in basketball. It happens in all sports to some of the better players.
That is true. If the owners in any sport feel as though they can get more out of someone that's much more cheaper, less of a headache, they're going to sign that player. As far as Pat Bev saying the Lakers is the reason why Russ is going through whatever he's going through as far as league perception, he has a great point. Think about it. When you're playing with LeBron James, once he X's you out, doesn't want to deal with you anymore, that's when the media storm comes. You're going to be the scapegoat. Russ was a scapegoat of the Lakers, but that team wasn't built properly. They traded a lot to get Russ, so I get some criticism, but they made it seem like Russ was the reason why they didn't win a championship. So again, by Russ playing in LA, it did make him look a certain way in the media. He hasn't been covered like that since the OKC Thunder were running things in the Western Conference when they had KD 10 years ago. So that was the first time since those glory years in OKC, Russ has been covered like this. If you're on the Lakers, you're playing with LeBron, you will be covered in a negative light. And that's what Russ is going through right now.
Regardless of resume, regardless of what they accomplished in the past, there comes a time where they will pass you up. Regardless of what you've done. Because that's why it's called business.
I'm trying to figure out, he says it's the Lakers. Okay. Cleveland, Baker Mayfield. He's with Cleveland.
Yeah.
And I'm sure Cleveland said some bad things about Baker Mayfield. What's Baker Mayfield doing now?
Cutting up.
Okay. The Lakers. He said this man has been a sixth man. And T. Lue, my guy. T. Lue say, I love Russ. Why didn't they sign him back? He declined the option with the Nuggets. So are we not going to, he mentioned Russ shot 40% from the three. So are we going to take an outlier season, or are we going to take about what he's done, his career in the playoffs from the three-point line?
Unfortunately, the stats, they work against Russell Westbrook. And again, shout out to Pat Bev for having Russ back, former teammate in LA. They had some beefs and situations throughout the years, and they were able to mend fences and play together in LA. It was a good look, but again, just with the stats with Russ, the numbers don't really back it up. But what Pat Bev is saying is bigger than just the stats. Yeah, they're going to hold on to every word that he said, but look at the perception that Russ had before LA, the Lakers, and then look at it now. It hasn't been the same ever since. That's the bigger picture. That's what Pat Bev is really talking about.
So I'm just figuring out how the Lakers keep taking the blame. Okay, he went to Utah. Utah bought him out. He goes to the Clippers. Clippers could have re-signed him after that year. They didn't. He goes to the Nuggets. They have an option. He has an option for $3.5, $4 million, whatever the case was.
Right. He
declined the option. They move on. How is that the Lakers' fault? I was when I first started hearing rumors, I said this is a bad deal. I said LeBron and Russ won't work together.
Right.
They both need the ball, and it just won't work. Neither one of the guys are catch and shoot. LeBron needs shooters. Russ needs shooters. So it's not going to work.
Yeah, it was a bad fit to begin with, but who wanted that fit? Who wanted Russell Westbrook on the Lakers? LeBron James, a little bit of AD, but LeBron James was a deciding factor. So you can't forget about that, Shannon. The only reason why you're that passionate about what Pat Bev said about the Lakers, because deep down you know it has something to do with LeBron James. Pat Bev, he didn't really want to stand on that much business when it comes to criticizing LeBron, but you criticize the Lakers as far as the perception negatively it had on Russ, but that had a lot to do with LeBron James, because when you got puppets in the media like Dave McMenamin and people surrounding the Lakers, they're always going to talk about Russell Westbrook. You remember when Dave McMenamin said a player or someone within the organization called Russell Westbrook a vampire? So what's with all that negative press? We never heard about Russ being a vampire on any other team. Yeah, it may not be a good fit. He may not have been able to resign with certain teams, but we didn't start hearing about this whole Russell Westbrook thing having bad energy until he was with the Lakers. That's the bigger picture.
But I'm just trying to figure out how it's everybody's fault. Russ is not, he's turnover prone. He's not a great shooter. He's not a great defender. Yeah, he's an energy guy. He's going to play hard all the time.
Right.
But at this stage of his career, he's not what he once was.
Damn.
I mean, it happens.
But
But how is that? I'm just trying to figure out, how is it the Lakers' fault?
Yeah, Russ definitely ain't the same. He used to have a decent little mid-range, can make the three ball much more better, but now he's struggling from the field, struggling from outside the paint. That's one of the real demises of Russell Westbrook. I guarantee if he can still make that midi, was decent at the three-pointers, he probably would have a job and wouldn't go from team to team every single year. He would have a bigger role and he'll be cool with staying on said team, but by his role changing, by players getting better, and especially in this era, shooting the three ball, it's going to be tough for Russ to stay in the league. And the deal he got with the Kings is non-guaranteed. He could be cut at any given moment. So Russ has to stay focused, has to stay locked in, because that Kings deal can end very soon.
Do you not think, you think people like, oh, the Lakers said Russ can't play. Oh, so we better not get him. I'm sure they said, so what about Baker? He went from Cleveland, he went to Carolina, he went to the Rams. That's 3 teams. Tampa say, okay, come on over here.
we got you.
At this point in time, unless you still like that, there are only a handful of guys that have played as long as Russ.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, okay, you looking at KD. Are we saying Russ and KD are the same? We looking at Steph. Are we saying Steph and Russ the same?
Completely
LeBron.
different.
Are we saying LeBron and Russ are the same? We're talking about guys that played. I think this is 17. I think this is 17 for Steph.
Right.
I think this is 19 for KD. Obviously, it's 23. Come on, man. Come on, y'all.
Yeah.
Russ is great in the community. I love what he does with his foundation. I love how hard he plays. But come on, man, stop this. Man, y'all.
Yeah, Russ, compared to the other guys Shannon named, you can't really put him in that category because his game didn't age correctly. Everybody already had a decent shot. If you're Steph Curry, magnificent shot. If you're KD, still balling. LeBron James runs the NBA, still can score, has clutch sports, controls the media. So it's going to be different for Russell Westbrook. Maybe if he had representation by clutch sports, maybe that'd change the vibe. I guarantee if he was under that infrastructure with clutch and the LeBron James media, things would be much better for Russell Westbrook, but he doesn't want to go in that direction. Again, no one should feel sorry for Russell Westbrook. Not to say that the Lakers is the reason why his career is like this now. He has to take some accountability, but the Lakers organization, they definitely hurt Russell Westbrook.
I know Russ is not the same player that he was.
Well, that's basically what I said too, huh? In regards to what you've done, in regards to how good you were, at some point everything declines, and when it does decline, they don't care what you did in the past. They don't care about what you did in the past. What can you offer me right now? What can you do for me right now? And you said he's not a great shooter. He's not a great shooter. He needs to handle the ball. So therefore, when you have issues like that, having a role on certain teams, it decreases because there's no value based on what you bring to that team. As great as he was.
Let me ask you a question, Ocho. When you watch the NBA, what they do?
But
Shoot threes.
Hey, just like the NFL. NFL now is a passing league. The NBA, everybody behind the arc. Everybody, even the big men.
If he wanted to get picked up, he could have picked up his option.
Right, but maybe he
He
didn't want.
could have picked up the option and stayed
maybe-
with the Nuggets.
Well, he
That's
didn't
not
pick-
what he wanted.
Yeah, maybe he felt he could have got more in the open market, huh?
Okay. That's what happened. So how's that the Lakers' fault? That what he got on the open market. How long has it been since he was last with the Lakers? 3 years? And the Lakers are still being held accountable for Russ.
Yeah,
It didn't work for
like
whatever reason. It didn't work. That is not the first trade that a team has made that didn't work. I can assure you, it will not be the last trade that teams make that don't work.
Right.
But we can't keep holding the teams responsible.
Yeah, you can't hold the teams responsible, but you were covering the Lakers during Fox Undisputed, Skip Bayless, the Russell Westbrooks, and all that stuff. You've had some things to say about Russ, made a couple jokes, laughed at a couple jokes. So not saying that it was just the Lakers, it's just the whole perception that kind of messed up Russell Westbrook. If he never joined the Lakers, I guarantee he wouldn't have all this negative media coverage. Of course, people had some things to say about his game, especially during the OKC and KD years, but it magnified when he got to the Lakers. So if you're Russ, it probably was a bad move for you joining the Lakers. I know it was a childhood dream for you to play with the team you watched growing up. He loved Kobe Bryant, so I understand why he went to the Lakers, but it did mess up his career as far as him getting older, wanting to stay in the league a little bit longer. That really hurt him. Even though it's been about 3 or 4 years, the media is still covering the years of Russell Westbrook, really because of LeBron James. They're always going to look for a scapegoat, and Russ was that scapegoat for the Lakers during that year and a half he was there. And I understand what Shannon is saying, don't get me wrong, but the reason you're so passionate is because by Pat Bev saying it was the Lakers' fault, he was really talking about LeBron James. And you already know how Shannon is when it comes to his GOAT. He will crash out about LeBron James.